There were other people who had, they were German, just to give you an idea, in the agricultural area, which I worked in a lot. There were banana interests. Now, we don't produce bananas, but our companies produce bananas in Central America. The French had a preferential system for bananas from Africa. Our people were our big companies were very concerned that that they were going to be shut out of the European banana market by African bananas because the French had these preferences. So there was pressure on us to pressure on the American government to oppose aspects of the common agricultural policy because of bananas. European grain, well, we think of the people in Europe largely, we think of France as being the country which has a sort of tradition of protectionism. But it was German grain prices that were the highest, and it was the Germans. We were afraid that the Germans would ally with the French and others and set a regime for imports of grain that would shut American grain producers out. So the point I'm trying to make here that I want to emphasize with you is that the American government took some real risks to support the unification of Europe. And there were key figures in this whose names have sort of been forgotten. There was a man named George Ball, who was the Undersecretary of State at the time, and a very powerful Undersecretary of State. People know him, as they know Bill Colby, for their association, Bill Colby from the CIA, for his association with Vietnam. George Ball was one of the most outspoken Americans against involvement in Vietnam in the 1960s. And if you do what I just did and look for him on Wikipedia, there'll be very little mention of his role in Europe, a lot of mention of his role in the Vietnam debate. The same is true of Bill Colby, who I mentioned before, had a big role in supporting the Italian government right after the war. Many of these people, like Bill and like Bill Colby and George Ball, these people had all served in the military. Bill Colby was in the OSS during the war, parachuted into Norway, that sort of thing. George Ball had been involved in the Lend-Lease effort. A lot of the people whose names I've recalled as I've been working on this, preparing this little talk, a lot of those people had been in the military and in the occupation of Germany at the end of the war. So they had deep and abiding interests in this area.